What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another retro Yu-Gi-Oh video, and we've got another Demise format gameplay video. Now, I'm reaching the end to the decks that I can actually reasonably cover in Demise format, so we'll be moving on to Trooper format in the coming weeks. But I've been really enjoying this format so far, and if you want more Demise content, we will be having a local stream, both for Demise format, and also to prepare for the monthly tournament happening this Sunday on the YGO from Zero Discord server. So head on over there if you are not already in there, and sign up for the event if you want to play some Demise format gameplay, because it should be a lot of fun. But today, I'm going to be featuring a classic GX deck, and that is Monarchs. And specifically, this version of the deck is meant to emulate Perfect Circle Monarchs, which is a deck that arises in Trooper format with the release of Rise of the Storm Monarch and Forge of the Breaker, and becomes the namesake of Perfect Circle format. Now, we don't have Raiza, so we can't quite play Perfect Circle. But, you know, given how a lot of people point out the similarities between Demise format and Trooper format, I figured I'd show off a sort of approximation of the Perfect Circle Monarch deck in Demise format and see how it actually does. So to that end, we're playing triple Phoenix Wing Moonblast, which obviously is better if you're also Raiza looping them, right? You're putting things on top of their deck with Raiza, and you're putting things on top of their deck with Phoenix Wing Moonblast. But here, it's still pretty good. You know, it can get things on top of deck, like Malicious. If they banish Malicious from graveyard, bring out another Malicious, and use Phoenix Wing Moonblast to spin that back to the top of the deck, that could be potentially pretty bad for them. It can send back a variety of good stuff. So I do think that this card is pretty decent in this format, and so we'll feature it in the Monarch deck here. Now, I did feature decks playing some Monarchs in the past, like, for instance, the T-Hero deck that I showed off on the channel earlier. That was playing a Zaborg in the deck, and it was also playing things like Jinzo and Demok, which you could potentially bring out with the sort of tribute fodder that you can assemble in decks like this. But this is more of a pure Monarch deck. You know, we've got triple Zaborg here and a Mobius as our Monarch lineup, so we're going heavy on that. And then, of course, we've also got the hero package support as well with these Stratos to search out things like Dasher, Disc Commander, Mally, and Fearmonger, all of which synergize pretty well. Fearmonger can bring back a Disc Commander and draw you 2 cards. Disc Commander just great in general to bring back off things like Call of the Haunted and Pre-Map. I mean, there's a lot of good uses of this engine, and it makes sense why it shows up in a lot of different decks. Because we're playing this engine, we're also playing 2 copies of Rhoda to go into Stratos, but if we already have gone through that part of our deck, we also have DD Warrior Lady here to go into potentially banish an opponent's Stratos, or Treeborn Frog, or potentially even a Card Trooper. Card Trooper is a very good card in this format, and we actually are playing triple Card Trooper with a machine duplication to go for big OTK pushes if we need it. But worst case scenario, this draws the card. It also potentially sets up our grave by milling things like Mally or Treeborn, so a very good card overall. We've also got a Sangan to search out a lot of our deck, and a Spirit Reaper here to wall up a bit and provide us with more tribute fodder. We've also got a Treeborn Frog, which is both a great pitch off of Phoenix Wing Blast and a recurable body that can go into your Monarch, so it's pretty good in that regard as well. For these spells, we've got Book of Moon to set down our opponent's stuff, but also potentially set down our stuff. I mean, it's a very versatile card. We got Double Brain Con to take control of our opponent's stuff to fuel our tribute plays. We've got a Confiscation here because for some reason this card's illegal. We got Triple Destiny Draw to pair with our hero engine. We've got a Heavy Storm to blow away their back row. We got Machine Dupe, as I mentioned, for the troops. We've got a MST here to blow away more of their back row. Pre-Map to bring back our Disc Commander, or just a variety of cards from our grave. Double Rhoda, as I mentioned, to go into the Hero Engine or Warrior Lady. We got Snatch Shield to take control of our opponent's stuff. We got Call on to bring back Disc Commander, or, again, as I mentioned, other cards that you might want to get on field to then tribute for a Monarch or something like that. We got a Crush Card Virus to pair with the Sangan, the Reaper, and the Disc Commander, the Fearmonger, the Mally. I mean, we got a lot of good Crush Card targets here, so it is a very, very good and explosive card to play. Mirror Force to deal with their aggressive pressure. Phoenix Wing Blast to spin things back to the top of the deck. Again, we don't have Raiza, so it's a little bit more awkward than it will be in the next format, but it still is pretty good. We got a Rain Destruction to blow up our opponent's stuff, or just deal that last bit of damage that we need, and we got a TD to blow up the board. For the side deck, I did adjust this a bit from the list that I was sort of basing this off of. I based this off of Joy Boy's Trooper format Perfect Circle Monarch deck that they brought in the LA Tin Can Cup, I believe 10? I believe that was the Trooper LA Tin Can Cup, but, you know, the most recent ETC that was in Trooper format. And, you know, I think that the side deck could be tailored a bit more to this format, so that's what I did. So we got triple Pulling the Rug, we got triple DD Crow. Pulling the Rug is for Monarch decks, DD Crow is for decks that are, you know, using the Hero Engine. Banishing a Mally or a Disc Commander or something like that can be very good. We got Jinzo to shut off traps, along with triple Royal Decree to shut off traps. We got double Dust Tornado for more back row heavy deck, and we got triple Threatening Roar for more OTKs. Fusion deck doesn't really matter, we don't have any ways to go into it, so this is just sort of a hodgepodge of cards. But that's going to do it for the deck breakdown. Let's dive into some games and see how this actually does. Okay, we got some games against Ratos, a frequent guest on the channel. Always a pleasure to have them on. We're diving into the RPS, and we've got an intense scissor off but ultimately switch it up to rock and win that one. So we are going to be going first here, and let's see what we get. We've got D-Draw, Disc Commander, TT, Machine Dupe, and Card Trooper. So we've got a pretty explosive hand here. We could potentially go for the D-Draw, pitch Disc Commander, draw 2 now. We could go for Trooper, Machine Dupe right now as well, if we want to. We also draw a Phoenix Wind Blast for turn. So, I mean, this is looking really good for us. Now, I could do a bit of an explosive play here to turn 1. But actually what I do is just set Phoenix Wing Pass. And this may seem weird, but the reasoning for this is I don't necessarily want to get drawing with the D-Draw right now, because then I potentially draw into more Card Troopers. I also don't necessarily want to Machine Dupe the Card Troopers right now, because then they can just attack over some of them and potentially, you know, thwart the aggressive power of that move. So what I actually do here is I set the Phoenix Wing. We could potentially pitch a TT here if we want to, but the Phoenix Wing also, you know, sort of counteracts if they set a monster or if they just set some spells or traps. We can use this on that. So it's a bit more versatile than Torrential, and I want the Torrential in hand to pitch off of it because everything else in hand kind of goes together. So that's why I did this play here. They bring out a Fearmonger here that's going to attack in for 1,000. We are perfectly fine with that. And then they set 1 pass back to us. Now, we could potentially Phoenix Wind Blast that in the end phase here, figuring that it might be like a Crush card, but our hand is actually very resilient against Crush card. So I'm actually fine just, you know, going to our turn. If we draw a better pitch off of the Phoenix Wind, and we can spin back that back row potentially if they change Crush card, then we were perfectly fine with this hand. We draw Rhoda, so I mean that's not the best card in the world to draw, but that's fine because we got Phoenix Wind Blast that we might want to pitch it for. We go for the Rhoda here, search out a Fearmonger of our own to potentially bring back Disc Commander, and then I make a misplay. I don't know why I did this. I was planning around not drawing deeper in our deck until we'd gone for Trooper for Machine Dupe, but for some reason I just completely forget that by searching out Fearmonger. I got Heroes on the mind. I go for D-Draw. This was a major mistake. If I drew into another Trooper, then the Trooper into card or Machine Duplication play would be a lot less good. And also, there's no way that I'm not doing the Trooper and Machine Duplication play here this turn. If they've got TT, if they've got Mirror Force, if they've got any number of back row to stop this, then I get 3 draws off the Troopers if the Machine Dupe actually goes through. And if they want to like TT or do something on the first Trooper summon, that's also fine because I draw a card. And then I've got Machine Duplication as a great pitch for Phoenix Wing. So there's no reason to go for D-Draw first here. I do it, and then I immediately kick myself. I'm like, why did I do that? Luckily, I do not get punished for that. I just draw into a Stratos and a Zaborg. So, you know, I got very lucky here, but realistically, I shouldn't have done this. And also now, I will say that Crush card is a lot more live for them because it actually hits Stratos and Zaborg. So, you know, this was just not something I should have done. This kind of throws a lot of my hard work out the window up to this point. But luckily, we do not get punished for this. So I go for a Card Trooper, go for the Machine Dupe now to bring out 2 more Card Troopers from the deck. And now I will mill 9 with their effects. Technically, you know, you should mill 3 at a time because, like, there is a chance that you mill into a Mally on the first mill, and then you're like, ooh, do I want to actually banish that Mally to bring out another Mally from deck to prevent, like, me from basically double milling Mallies and stuff. But, realistically, this is fine. So I just mill 9 here. And no Mallies, no nothing. So it didn't actually end up mattering. But in general, it is good to sort of keep that in mind. But we're going to attack into that Fearmonger. They're going to fire Mirror Force. We are perfectly fine with that trade. We will draw 3 cards here. We actually draw into a Mally. In the end phase, we've got 7 cards in hand. So we're just going to pitch the Treeborn Frog here. We can use up a Phoenix Wing Wind Blast here on our, or I guess on their following turn. And then we get Zaborg to, you know, tribute and pop the Fearmonger, do stuff with that. We got Stratos to search out something else. We get a lot of different options here. So I do like pitching the Treeborn here. They're just going to attack in with the Fearmonger, and we're just going to take it. I don't really feel the need to Wing Blast that. They're going to set 2. We will Wing Blast one of the back rows in case like Crush Card or something, and we will spin back that one, pitching a Mally. We draw into a Zaborg, which is pretty good. We're going to bring back that Treeborn Frog here, and then we're going to go for Heavy Storm, just clear their other back row there. It's a TT there. Then we banish a Mally for a Mally there. And we're going to tribute that for a Zaborg. You might be wondering why I do this. And the reason for that is we're getting pretty low on cards in the deck. And I would like to get my Mallies out of the deck. I don't want to be drawing them. So I feel like this is fine. We've also got plenty of good cards here. Stratos, Fearmonger, etc. And we got the Treeborn in rotation. So I don't really need this to set up my tribute fodder for like a Zaborg or something. So I can just use it to get a little bit more damage in. So we're going to attack in for 3,200. And then we could potentially set the TT here, but I decide not to because there is a potential world where they manage to, like, let's say, snatch or Zaborg and also summon out another monster, get over Treeborn or something. Then TT is a bit worse for us there. But, I mean, I guess if they summoned out that other monster, we could just fire TT at that point. But until I see the snatch, I don't really think it's worth doing. So I want to keep the TT hand to avoid awkward situations here. And with this, the Treeborn will come back, fuel this Borg, so I think it's ultimately fine. They go for Snatch on this Borg indeed, and attack over our Militias here. We will take 1600, and they're going to set 1, set 2, pass back to us. We draw into a Brain Con here, and they got a Dust Shoot. That's going to be a bit unfortunate for us. They're going to take this Borg there, spin that back into the deck. So we still have options here. We're going to set this Fearmonger pass back to them. Again, I don't want to set TT to wind up in an awkward Treeborn Frog situation. I want them, if they want to progress the board state on the board, to have to attack into the Fearmonger instead of the Treeborn Frog. Attacking into Treeborn Frog does nothing. And if they choose not to attack into Fearmonger at all, then next turn I can flip summon Fearmonger, summon out Stratos, and pop this Snatch Shield there to take back these Borg. So I'm feeling fine about this. They are going to check their graveyard for a second. And they're going to ask about how Fearmonger works, because Fearmonger is a very confusing card. So I'll clear this up right now. Basically, the way Fearmonger works is if it's in your graveyard during your standby phase, if it was destroyed by battle, basically since your last standby phase. So either you crash it into an opponent's monster by battle, or they attack over it, and it's still in your graveyard during your standby phase, you can bring it back, or not bring it back, but bring back a Destiny Hero with its effect. So, the Fearmonger that they have engraved, for instance, if they get another Destiny Hero engraved, they can't use that effect at any time to summon it out. It has to be basically the turn after it was destroyed by battle, effectively. But they're going to give us 1,000 off that Snatch Shield. We flip up a Fearmonger here, and then we're going to summon out this Stratos, and we're going to use the effect to pop. Now, the nice thing about this is that it doesn't actually target, but if they can clear the other hero on our field, then it won't be able to get its effect off. So that might be a bit awkward for us. Ultimately, they're going to go for Phoenix Wing here, send back the Fearmonger, which I think makes sense, because if they don't send that back, the next turn we're drawing into Stratos, we can normal summon it and get the effect off again. So this makes sense to me. They're going to pitch a Heavy, which also makes sense because they want the Snatch Shield around. And, we could potentially hold the Brain Con here for when we actually want to bring out a Zaborg by tribute summoning something. But they're 4,800. And if we Brain Con that Zaborg, we can actually get in for 4,200, dropping it down to 600, which shuts off things like Brain Cons of their own, shuts off Premature Burial, shuts off a lot of stuff. So I figured this should be pretty good for us here. And next turn, we probably should be able to do something. We're going to set the TT here, because now if they attack into Frog with just the Zaborg and they don't commit anything else, then we've got this other Zaborg in hand to summon out over the Stratos and pop their Zaborg, attack in for 24. We got a lot of different options here, so I feel like now is the time to go for TT. I don't want to necessarily play into weird edge cases, like, I don't know. I'm not sure what they can do to kill us here, but either way, I'm insulated from what they can do against us, I believe. They go for an MST on our back row. It is the TT, so they're able to clear that. And then they go for Stratos here. Stratos turns out Disc Commander. And now they can actually, clear the board here, attacking over the Stratos, and then attacking into the Reborn Frog, but they're not going to do that because it doesn't matter, ultimately. But we should still have lethal here, because what we do is we attribute over Treeborn Frog, pop the Zaborg of theirs, and then attack into the Stratos with the Zaborg, and that is 600 damage. So while we did mess up at the beginning of that game, luckily we weren't punished for it, and I think that our good play at the end of the game did manage to sort of push us to victory there. So we locked in at the end of that one. Hopefully we can keep up the locking in for this one. We've decided in a DD Crow for a confiscation because we're going second. Honestly, I think our deck is a pretty good matchup against theirs. We're doing very similar things, and I'm not really sure what else I'd bring out the DD Crows, or bring out for the DD Crows, that is. That's something that I need to sort of figure out as I play more with the deck and get more experience with it. But I feel like right now it's fine just bringing in one Crow and seeing how it works. But they're going to go for a Rhoda for the Stratos for the Fearmonger. So now they've got that line up online. They're going to set 2, pass back to us. This tells us that they probably have Disc Commander somewhere in hand. So, because you'd probably search out Disc Commander first before going for Fearmonger. They're going to go for a Dust Shoot there. So they get a peek at what we're working with here. But, they don't really have the best options to pick here. If they leave us with the Sangin, we get Crush Card online. If they leave us with the Trooper, we can still hit over the Stratos. If they leave with the Zaborg, we've got Brain Comp plus Zaborg set up for later. So we've got a lot of good options here. They ultimately are going to take the Sangin, which I do think makes sense because, that turns on Crush Card. So it makes sense that they do that. We go for a Card Trooper here, Milling 3, trying to get over that Stratos. And we got really lucky by milling a Mally. So now we actually will be able to get the Crush Card online here. So that is very, very nice for us. Now, we could potentially banish for Mally here, bring out a Mally, and then get in a little bit of extra damage. I think in hindsight, I should have done that. Because realistically, like, let's say they Mirror Force this or TT this, then we can banish this Mally, get out another Mally, and set up Crush Card here. So I should have gone for the extra damage with this. But I just decide to attack over the Stratos here, dealing 100 damage, and then main 2, I go for the Mally, banishing that to bring out another Mally in defense mode here, and then I set a Phoenix Wing and a Crush card here in case they've got like a MST or something in the back row. They've got a ring though, so that we'll be able to get rid of the Mally and shut off our Crush card. So that is a bit unfortunate for us here. Yeah, not really much we could have done to play around that. But, if we had brought out the Malian attack, at least it would have been more damage for us here. So we're going to pass back to them. They are going to bring out a Fearmonger of their own, attack into the Card Trooper. The fact that they're bringing up Fearmonger now with no Disc Commander and Grave, to me signals that they might have a Crush card of their own, which is a bit worrying for us. But, we can potentially still do stuff here. So we draw into a Rhoda, which is pretty good. We're going to go for a Mally, bring out a Mally there, because we got the Crush card online. And then we're going to go for a Rhoda for Stratos here. Now, we don't really have... we could potentially go for Disc Commander and stuff. Like, I think that is a decent line of play. But what I actually want to do here is I want to start sniping that back row, because I feel like I've got a very good hand just to deal with what they're going on here. So if I can turn the Stratos into 1-for-1 removal, I feel like that might be a little bit more valuable than using it for the search. But I think... it's very tricky, because I could just play through the removal by like trying to hit into the Fearmonger or something. But I feel like they wouldn't leave their Fearmonger exposed like this if they actually didn't have anything. So they go for TT on that, and then we chain Crush card to that to tribute the Mally, which sends a Dasher and reveals that Disc Commander in hand. So they didn't need to have the Disc Commander. So this tells me that they might also have a discard trap here if they're trying to use that Fearmonger to do stuff with. But they draw to Call the Haunted, which is very scary with that Fearmonger. We don't want that to get set up. We draw into heavy, so we could potentially heavy here to clear away the call and basically turn off the Disc Commander. Now, what I could do here is I could activate just Phoenix Wing Blast right now, pitch a card, spin that Disc Commander back to the top of the deck, and then immediately heavy to blow up the back row. But I don't necessarily think I need to do that yet. They didn't use a Crush card of their own when they went for TT on the Fearmonger. So I feel like that means that they don't have a Crush card in their back row right there. And I actually want to be knowing what they're drawing here. Because, Crush card's still online. So if it is something like a Stratos or something, I want that popped. I don't want that to be just later on in the game for them. So what I decided to do is I just pass back to them. They draw into Zaborg, so that gets popped. They pass back to us. We draw into a Fearmonger. So now I do feel like it is probably worth doing this play. So I go for a Heavy Storm here. And because there's one turn left on Crush card, I actually decide not to spin back not the Fearmonger, the Disc Commander there. They have some Stratos searches on the call summon, because they do have, Stratos engraved there. So I guess, they wouldn't be drawing into Stratos, but they could draw into other things like Zaborg, for instance. But unfortunately, Stratos today, when you can, so if you bring it back with call chaining to a heavy, it will not actually be able to get its effect off. So we're just going to pop the board like that. We're going to bring out a Fearmonger and attack into their set. The reason why I was fine doing this is because I've got Mirror Force to protect the Fearmonger. I kind of want to keep that online. I want the Brain and Zaborg combo online as well, so I didn't really necessarily want to pitch everything. And also, they're drawing one card, right? And we do get to see that card, because the last turn of Crush card is a Mirror Force. So that does really inform what we're doing here. So we draw into a Warrior Lady. And right now, we've got a couple different options. What we could potentially do is just summon that Warrior Lady, switch Fearmonger to defense, and then just attack him with Warrior Lady. That slightly increases the clock. But what I ultimately decided to do is just attack him with Fearmonger, because I feel like, later on in the game, we're going to be drawing other cards. Either cards that can deal with Mirror Force, or cards like Card Trooper, for instance, that we don't care about running into Mirror Force. So the clock's going to be increased at some point later on in the game, so I don't really feel like I need to get in that extra 500 damage now. I'm going to set the Warrior Lady, pass back to them, and now Crush card is turned off, so you don't need to worry about that. They go for a Dasher effect engrave to special summon out that Mally that they just drew, and just set that up for potential tribute plays, for deck thing plays, etc. I'm going to try and bait out that Mirror Force now by threatening to banish that with the Warrior Lady here, attacking it into the Mally, and they do have the Mirror Force for that. Now, I've got a couple different options here. I could Brain Con the Mally and tribute set Zaborg, or I could, tribute summon Zaborg, pop itself, or I could just tribute the Fearmonger, pop the Mally that way. And because they're at such low resources here, and because, I want to get a bit more aggressive here, I decide ultimately to just tribute the Fearmonger, pop the Mally there, and then use the Crow to banish the Mally before they can get that online. So they're going to draw set 1. We draw into a Dasher, which is pretty good with that Brain Con in hand. We attack in for 24. That will go through. We're just going to pass back to them. They're going to set another pass back to us. We draw a Disc Commander, so that's very good, because we can tribute that for Dasher on the following turn. And we're just going to attack in with this Zaborg, dropping down to 1300. We set the Disc Commander there, pass back to them. They set 1, pass back to us. We draw into Machine Dupe, which doesn't really do anything right now, but we contribute for that Dasher, and then attack in over their set, and then attack directly for 24. And that will go through, and we did manage to win that one. They just got a Trap Dash Shoot and a Heavy Storm set there. So, you know, I really enjoyed playing this game. I think it was very, very skill testing. And this deck is very, very cool. Like, Monarchs is still very strong, but it plays very differently from how it did before. I mean, honestly, a lot of decks playing the Hero engine, like T-Hero, are also very skill testing, right? And that's part of what makes this format fun, because you get to play these very, very explosive decks, but also very, very skill-intensive decks in very interesting ways. So this wasn't the only match that I got against Raiza. We enjoyed what we did here so much that we wanted to play another. So let's dive into that one now. Okay, we got our second game against Raiza here, and we're going to dive in. This is just a direct rematch, so we're playing these same decks against each other. And we're going to dive in. So this is kind of a mirror. I don't think Raiza is as on, like, a heavy Monarch package as we are. So they're more playing, like, I don't want to say good stuff Hero Engine, but, like, they're playing a Hero Engine, utilizing it with just, like, other good cards. And they are playing things like Monarchs. I don't know. It's kind of weird distinguishing between different decks playing the Hero Engine in this format. It can get kind of awkward, but we're just going to set this Phoenix Wing. We can potentially pitch as a Borg, bounce something back, do stuff with that. So feel fine with this until they flew out Reaper. Reaper is going to be a bit annoying for us if we Phoenix Wing that. It actually does go to the top of the deck. It does not pop itself because it will be off the field after the effect resolves. So they're just drawing into that again. It is really awkward for us. If they hit Snatch Steal, we don't really have a good way to deal with Reaper, which is also very unfortunate. If they hit Call, that's kind of unfortunate. But if they hit one of the Zaborgs, then we can potentially do stuff here. So I'm just going to let this go through. I'm going to take it. I feel like they're higher priority targets to Phoenix Wing. They send a Zaborg there, and then they are going to set 1, pass back to us. We draw into a Card Trooper, which is pretty good. I'm going to go for Snatch Steal. I figure they probably have CCV because they set Reaper first turn, but they actually don't, so I feel very good about that. You know, the Snatch Steal paid off there. We can just bring out a Trooper here, mill 3, we mill another Trooper, which is really good because now we can feel a bit better about committing a Call the Haunted to field now. We attack over the Fearmonger there, so they do have that, but they don't have any Destiny Heroes engraved, so that's very good for us. And we're just going to set this Call, pass back to them. They are going to draw for turn, and then they are going to activate Heavy. We can chain Call to this, bring back that Trooper, which will not miss timing because this is if this card is destroyed instead of the graveyard, you draw a card. So, yeah, it's kind of rough that we weren't able to use the Phoenix Wing to good effect, but, you know, we at least got to bring back a Card Trooper, draw a card. If they attack into our Card Trooper on the field right now, then we get to draw another card. So, we're feeling decent about this. They will summon out Stratus, search out a Dasher here, and attack over the Trooper. 1700 to us. We draw into Stratus, which is pretty good here. All things considered, they attack in for 18 and pass back to us. We draw Treeborn Frog. So this is a bit of an awkward scenario for us because, you know, we want to get the Frog set up for us as a Borg. We also want to get the Stratus searching to search stuff. But they've got a very aggressive field here. And so if I summon out Stratus, what I could do potentially is ring the Cyber Dragon to, you know, prevent them from being able to get over our Stratus that well. But they do have Dasher in hand, so they could always just summon out Dasher, attack over Stratus that way. And by taking 2100 damage, we actually are in a really bad spot because, you know, if they've got any way to clear a Stratos outside of just attacking over it with Dasher, the Dasher is lethal. So what I decided to do here is I will just set a Treeborn Frog, set a ring, pass back to them, and see what they do. They are going to just attack in with the Stratos. We do decide to ring that as opposed to ringing the Sidra. This may be weird because, yes, now they've got Pre-Mat online, now they've got Call online to bring back Stratos and search out something, which is definitely very awkward for us. But, you know, based on how the life points are looking, I don't want them to be able to ring their own Dasher for game. So, I feel like it is better just to ring the Stratos here, as awkward as that may seem. And now they're going to attack into our Treeborn Frog. That will be able to come back next turn, and we'll be able to summon out Zaborg to do stuff with that. We draw a new Phoenix Wing here. We bring back the Treeborn Frog, and then we're just going to tribute over that for a Zaborg. I have the read that the set's probably like either a Sangan or a Disc Commander or something that wants to be popped here. But, you know, this is kind of what I have to do. This gets in a little bit more damage, and they do have Dasher in hand, so, like, they can just tribute over it if it is something that wants to be engraved. So I'm just going to pop that. It's the Disc Commander. They're going to, or we're going to attack in to the Sidra there. Deal them 300. And then main 2, we set a Phoenix Wing, pass back to them. They're going to use the Fearmonger effect to, well, actually, they can't use the Fearmonger effect because it wasn't destroyed by battle here. But what they can do is they can go for a Pre-Mat, or not a Pre-Mat, a Rhoda here. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. They go for Rhoda for the Warrior Lady, and then they go for Pre-Mat now. And here is a bit of an inflection point in the game, because there is a potential chance for me to use Phoenix Wing here to spin back that pre-mat, pitch a Stratos, and then they've got DD Warley to clear the Zaborg. So that's awkward for me because I'm going down to no cards in hand. They're drawing into pre-mat next turn, and they can just use the effect again to potentially win the game here, right? So yes, while they are drawing 2 cards here, I feel like I actually have to let this pre-mat go and save the Phoenix Wing for other stuff, because unfortunately, I can't be put into that bad of a situation, so I just got to hope that they whiff. So I let that go through. They will draw 2 off the Disc Commander there. They go for Destiny Draw to draw 2 more off that. So, they're drawing a bunch of cards here, which is not good for me. But they got the Snatch Shield there. They can attack in for 24. We're going to Phoenix Wing here to bounce back that Snatch Shield to, get back this Borg. If we bounce back this Borg, we're probably dead. I mean, we know they've got Warrior Lady in hand, so that's 1,800 damage total. But, we're just drawing dead. Well, actually, we're not drawing dead. So, actually, I think what I should have done here, I think I misplayed here, actually. Yeah, I should have done Phoenix Wing on the Zaborg, put that on top of the deck, brought back Treeborn, summoned out Zaborg, and popped something that they had. So actually, I majorly misplayed this, and maybe we could have potentially turned this game around. I mean, they've got Trooper in hand, they've got Phoenix Wing in hand, so what they would have done here, they would have just Phoenix Winged our Zaborg once we summoned it out, or Phoenix Winged the Treeborn Frog, and just basically bypass that entirely. So we were actually dead here either way, but it still would have been better to Phoenix Wing the Zaborg, I think. But they're going to set 2, pass back to us. We get to bring back a Treeborn here, and we're just going to attack her for the Disc Commander, deal a ton of damage. We don't necessarily want to attack into a DD Warley if they've got that set. We're just going to set the Disc Commander here, pass back to them. They've got Phoenix Wing for our set, and I mean, that should be the end of the game because we know they've got Snatch. They pitched the Warrior Lady, but if that monster is anything with over 100 attack, then they just win the game from this. So they do need Snatch our monster, flip up a Trooper, and that will be the end of the game. So very intense one. Again, I just bring in the Crow for the Coffee. This may seem weird because we are going first here, but I feel like Coffee is kind of bad against their deck. Like, there's a lot of things they want to get in Graveyard, and while if we do open turn 1 Coffee, that's very good. If we activate Coffee in the mid to late game, and they're just filled with a bunch of cards that they want in grave, then it can actually be very bad for us. So I take out the Coffee against this deck. And this is a really good opener. I just go for Stratos. Sure, I a Fearmonger because we've already got the Disc Commander, so I can set up a Fearmonger play in the future. I set a Ring, pass back to them, and they're going to go for a D-draw, pitch a Fearmonger, draw 2. And they're going to fire an MST on our back row. We could ring our own Stratos, but I feel like that's kind of awkward because then we're taking even more damage for whatever they summon out. So they're going to go for a Trooper here, mill 3, milling a Mally, so they could potentially go for the Mally there. But they're going to choose not to, holding that for a later time. They're going to attack over our Stratos here with the Trooper, set 1, pass back to us. So, at least they don't have Crush Card. That's kind of nice. We go for Brain Con on the Trooper there, and then we'll tribute that for a Mobius to pop their back row. This also does manage to clear the Trooper in a way that doesn't get them a draw, so that's why I did that. Unfortunately, that TT will still blow up the Mobius, and we'll pass back to them. They are going to banish the Mally for a Mally here and potentially go into a Tribute. Nope, just going to go into a Trooper. But I do think that makes sense overall because you want to get aggressive here. If you mill double Mally, then you've basically got no value out of the Mally. So you want to at least bring this out. And unfortunately, they did mill out the 3rd Mally off that Trooper, but I think this made sense. You're not really the most likely to mill that 3rd Mally off the Trooper. Unfortunately, it did not work out for them there. Worked out very well for us, though. We drew into Machine Dupe, and we've got that Trooper in hand. So what we can do here, just bring out that Trooper, go for Machine Dupe, bring out 2 more, and this should be pretty good. We can mill 9 and get Kraken in here, and that's what we're going to do. We mill a Mally there, so we are able to also get aggressive with the Mally. We don't have any other Mallies in grave, so, this will be our first Mally. I kind of want to get that Mally in rotation, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to banish the Mally, bring in another Mally from deck. I don't want to draw the other Mallies in there, and then I'm just going to hit over their field. This maybe is a mistake because, if they manage to clear my Troopers, then, I'm getting 3 draws. And if I draw into that last Mally, it's just purely dead. But the way I figure, if I'm getting 3 draws anyways, I'm probably fine with drawing one of them dead, right? Because I'm still going up on cards. So maybe that's a mistake and reasoning, but I do feel like at this point, we are a bit behind based on what they've done. So I want to get them down lower in life points. So I'm going to attack in there. They're going to think about this, and they're going to use the Dasher effect to bring out a Sangan. So that's a bit worrying for us. They're going to go for Rhoda here, searching out a Warrior Lady, so this will be able to shut off one of our other cards there. They go for Brain Con on the Trooper there. Now they're able to Trooper Mill 3, and they're able to go for the Warrior Lady here to potentially banish one of our stuff. They could either banish a Trooper to prevent us from getting a draw, or they could banish the Mally, just making that last Mally in deck completely dead. They're going to attack over one of our Troopers. We draw off that. MST ain't bad. I won't begrudge that. They attack in to our other Trooper here. We draw into Call. That's very good, especially with this commander in hand here to potentially set up for later. And then they're going to attack in to the Mally. So we're going to take 7, and they choose not to banish that, which I think does make some sense because they're only at 1900 life points, and they know that we have a Fearmonger in hand. So if that back row isn't anything, or we have ways to deal with that, we can just hit over the Sangan with the Trooper and then attack him with Fearmonger for game. So I think it does make sense for them to do. But yeah, ultimately we are still able to get game here. They go for a Dust Shoot here to shovel back something. They're going to shovel back that Zaborg, but ultimately it shouldn't matter too much. We go for a Rhoda here, searching out a Warrior Lady to banish that Sangan. We're going to go for Mally just to get in extra damage here because we are getting very close to killing them. I don't think we quite have game, but we're very, very close. So we will banish that Sangan, prevent them from getting a search. We attack over the Warrior Lady. Yes, this will probably deprive us of a draw, but it also deals 400 damage, and then we can get in for 800, dropping them down to 200, shutting off things like Pre-Mat, shutting off Brain Control, shutting off a fair amount of their deck. Main 2, we're just going to decide to set a call, pass back to them. We could have set an MST here as well, but I don't want heavy off the top to be kind of bad for us, right? Although if they do draw heavy off the top, they still have to find a way to deal with Mally, deal with Fearmonger, deal with this commander. So not the worst thing in the world, but I feel like just setting call here is fine. They're just going to admit defeat, so it seems like they didn't have anything to deal with that, and that's going to be pretty good for us. So game 2, we definitely got lucky drawing that machine dupe, but it definitely shows how explosive the deck can be if things go well for it. They're going to go first in this game 3 or set 2, pass back to us. We draw into Dasher, so we could potentially de-draw that away. Unfortunately, they've got a Dust Shoot, so they're able to send back that Dasher, prevent us from getting that de-draw online. We're just going to set this Treeborn here, pass back to them. They're going to summon out a Trooper, mill 3, and then attack into the set. They probably have the read that it's Treeborn, but at least this gets Trooper on field, gets their graveyard a bit filled up a little bit. And if it's the Warrior Lady, at least this way, it's sort of out of the picture. But they're going to set 2, pass back to us. So, they know we have Mobius, so they must have some plan for Mobius. And Dust Shoot will indeed be able to stop the Mobius. They're going to take the Sangan instead, though. So this, to me, says that they might have something to stop Mobius that we don't necessarily want to commit Mobius into here. Because right now, the play seemingly is just to summon out Mobius, pop their back row, attack over the Trooper. But I think they want us to do that. So what we're going to do instead is just go for a Warrior Lady here, attack over the Trooper there, and try and banish that, prevent them from getting the draw. We're going to pass back to them. And they are going to think about this bit, activate a Coffee, and rip the Pre-Mat out of our hand. That's very interesting. So this confirms basically 100% that they got something to stop the Mobius here. We draw into Disc Commander, so we're going to de-draw that away. Draw 2. Draw into a Stratos. That's pretty good. We're going to think about what to do. Because we know that they've got something to deal with Mobius, I'm just going to bring out the Stratos here. They might have something to deal with Stratos, especially with pulling the rug. There's the argument that maybe Mobius is better to commit into pulling the rug than a Stratos is. But at least this gets Stratos engraved for if we draw into a Call the Haunted or something to bring that back. We got Disc Man engraved, so we probably want to bring that back, but it's just better to have more flexibility later on. So I go for Stratos here. They've got pulling, so that will indeed stop that. We just pass back to them, and they are going to set 1, set 2. This basically tells us guaranteed that they've got a way to stop the Mobius. So we could potentially just summon out the Mally here, attack in with that. But if they got something for the Mobius, I may as well trigger it right now, I'm going to try popping their back row. They've got pulling for that, and we'll just pass back to them. I don't really feel like I need to commit Ring just yet. Reaper would be obviously really bad, but the only thing that makes Reaper bad is if they hit into Rain Destruction. If they hit into Mally, honestly, it's pretty fine. They're just going to pass back to us. So it seems like they're a bit monster light here, which is quite unfortunate. We bring back that Treeborn. They're going to go for Phoenix Wing, pitching a Brain Con to spin that Treeborn back to the top of the deck, which is kind of rough for us. We're going to set a Ring, pass back to them, because now what we can do here is we can set the Treeborn Frog from hand next turn. And then if they've got a way to deal with Treeborn Frog, we can ring it, right? But if they don't, we can just hard tribute over Treeborn, summon out Mally, and then we can sort of go from there. They set 1, pass back to us. We draw into that Treeborn. We'll set the Treeborn, pass back to them. And they're going to summon out a Sidra here. They're going to try attacking into the Treeborn with the Sidra. We've got a Ring for that. Might as well use it now. And we will indeed use it there. So we each take 2,100. And then they're just going to pass back to us. So I feel very good about this because we can just tribute summon out that Mally and then attack in for 800. Looks like that will go through. Main 2, we're just going to set this MST, pass back to them. If we need to bring the Treeborn Frog, or Treeborn back, that is, we can just pop their back row that they've already got on field to then clear up that back row space for this. They're just going to set one. We will MST the new back row in case something like Phoenix Wing or something. I think they probably would have used Phoenix Wing on Mally beforehand, but, at least this way we get into the chainable, and it was indeed a Phoenix Wing, so I feel very good about that. Stand by, we bring back that Treeborn Frog, and now we can go for Card Trooper here, mill 3. Get him for 2,700. Well, actually, we can get him for lethal with that Mally. If this does play into TT or Mirror Force, but I do think it is worth doing because this does represent lethal. If they do have TT or Mirror Force, we get a draw off Card Trooper. We've got Treeborn still in rotation, so I feel good about this. And it looks like that will indeed go through. The back row is just Crush card, but unfortunately, they did not draw into any of their monsters. Their hand was just Zaborg and D-Draw. That is very, very rough. But yeah, we were able to grind out this one with the Monarch deck here. So Monarchs, I think, are very, very good in this format. I don't necessarily know which deck utilizing the hero engine is the best. I don't even know if Phoenix Wing Blast is the best card in the world. It does have some great applications against certain decks. But there's a lot of different ways to build these decks in this format, which is part of the fun of it, right? I don't think that anyone settled on the clear best, deck using the hero engine here. And I'm not sure if that ever will be settled. What I do know is that when you play with a deck with this engine and with these sorts of explosive capabilities, it is a lot of fun. So I definitely recommend that you try it out if you're interested. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, showing gameplay in a variety of old retro formats, definitely subscribe to the channel. Leave a like down below and let me know what you think about the deck as well. I really like this deck, but a lot of people might not because Phoenix Wing is a bit of a polarizing card in formats like these, I think. If you want to play games in Demise format, head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server. I mentioned the tournaments happening there soon in Demise format. So if you want to participate in those, head on over to there. Also, big shout out to my patrons as always. Rinspin, Pork Chop Coon, Brent Knocker, Tyler Compton, GeoMyFS, Dump Truck, and Scout Zero. It means a lot that you all support me this way and encourage me to make more videos like this in the future. I hope you enjoyed as always, and until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.